I'll start this lecture on ancient Greece with a comment from YouTube. The peak of humanity, ancient Greece. It's mind-blowing to know that there was such a developed society so long ago, and now, not even with all the technology we have, we can't be better people. I will work hard to nurture mind and body to honour ancient Greece. This was posted underneath an Alain de Botton's School of Life video on the ideas of ancient Greece, but would fit well with the attitude of any neoclassicist. To the student of humanities, or anyone with only a passing interest in philosophy, it is the intellectual legacy of the Greeks that towers over all else, but it is true that they left a wealth of material culture behind. The theatre is a unique legacy of the Greeks, and its outdoor tiered seating for mass gatherings survives in many amphitheatres. Sculpture, too, is a main physical remnant of Greek civilization, whose pale statues were once resplendent with colour. Greece's temples, dedicated to various deities within its rich mythology, are another architectural gift to modernity. These are structures which have stood the test of time due to good design, but which also carry the values of harmony, dignity, calm, and reason held dear by the West for centuries. More impressive, though, is the influence the ancient Greeks have had on human thought. When you go to see a play, quite often it will define itself as either a tragedy or a comedy. The Greeks invented these concepts. In fact, in the society of Athens, tragedy was deemed so important that the government of the city paid its citizens to go to the theatre, closing down public buildings so that no one had an excuse not to go. Tragedy had a social function. It showed Dionysian passions and recited Apollonian poetry. The nobleman was brought low by the slightest of flaws and the wrath of the gods. Philosophers dedicated several pages to the art, one of the most influential being Aristotle's Poetics, which laid down the rules of drama for the next millennium. Philosophy is an invention of the Greeks. They created the word, which means love of wisdom. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle are considered the greatest philosophers, but there were many more. The first of these practiced the Socratic dialogue, whereby the truth is arrived at by playing devil's advocate and testing the robustness of ideas. Plato tackled questions of government and elaborated a theory of ideas and ideals, or archetypes. Aristotle examined what it means to live virtuously and interrogated the function of society's institutions. Another of the important legacies of the Greeks is their approach to sport and the human body. They celebrated nudity and encouraged disciplines that showed off physical strength and beauty. All Greek-speaking peoples were invited to take part in the Olympic Games. The Greeks considered the training of the mind and the body to be equally important, and the gymnasium was as much a place of debate and intellectual inquiry as it was the site of sweat and corporal exertion. Democracy originated in ancient Greece. It is what distinguished Athens from oligarchic Sparta. Pericles, general of Athens during its golden age, described democracy as favouring the many instead of the few. The democracy of Athens fostered collective solidarity. Even if born poor, the talented citizen could rise through the ranks of public office and serve the people. Athens soon realized that there was a major problem with democracy, in that people with large estates or great wealth may vote in their personal interest against the common good. Therefore, they took steps to limit private property. They also implemented measures to mitigate the effects of antisocial individuals who profited at the people's expense through bad business practices, by introducing a system of ostracization, whereby the citizenry could vote to banish them. This included popular courts, which resulted in the condemnation of Socrates for the corruption of youth. Plato was critical of democracy because the ascension to public office through lot drawing often meant mediocrities, or people unsuited to public offices were thrust into power. He set out in his Republic that the noble lie that some were born of better stock would be better for society, and that natural law was superior to this interventionist, artificial method of selecting rulers. His view was far from meritocratic, but it was opposed to the equality of outcome that Athens promoted. Maximal freedom produced decadence, he argued. Victor Hansen says that Plato's Republic and Athenian democracy are the two models upon which revolutionary states were founded at the end of the 18th century, with America, with Hobbes and Locke, going down the former, and France, with Rousseau and Voltaire, the latter path. Although the citizens of Athens were highly principled, by the end of the Golden Age, they lacked the organizational will to stand up to the monarchical Macedonians, even though they possessed the ability to mobilize a much larger army than their neighbors to the north. The democratic city-state lost the self-belief it took to maintain war in the name of a higher ideal, their unique way of life. Though militaristic, by this time the oligarchy of the laconic Spartans was no martial match, and, in any case, hardly worth conquering. Philip II of Macedonia was instrumental in the formation of the Hellenic League of Greek city-states as a defensive bloc, with himself at the head in the role of hegemon. When he was assassinated, his son Alexander the Great took over and began his rule by abolishing all taxes, pledging to gain his income only through mining and conquest. He went on to create one of the largest empires of the ancient world.